Hello everyone, it is Kristi, it is Sunday, and it is time for Weekend Winters. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is, whenever it is you are. I look a little soft. I think I'm going to turn my mic up a little bit. Still playing around with my new setup. Wow. Yeah, I got that whacked all the way up now. Alright, that should be good. I turned off like a volume booster extension, I think might have done it, so can people in the chat let me know? Am I too loud? Is that loud enough? Is it come? Guten Morgen zusammen. Wie geht es bei euch? So hi to Nil, hi to Lucky Wanderer. Thank you for stopping by. All right, we're gonna get right into this pretty quick here because I noticed personally that when I watch videos, it's fine to have a few seconds of like chitter chatter, but mostly I want to say the thing that's in the title. Before I do though, really quick, really quick, we're gonna get like less than a minute. I am pretty tired this week because I am currently running like 3 different D&D games, a high-level game, a low-level murder mystery, my usual game, plus setting up the new Twitch stream for Rolling Left, which you can find on Twitch. There's going to be a new show coming. As a lot of my mental energy when I'm not working was taken up with that. It's fine. It's my free time. However, I can't do that and Weber. And so we're kind of come back into the more nerdy thing. But I am pretty mentally tired. My goal for the show today is to go over more of philosophy of social science, as we've been discussing. F off, thank you. I'm trying to monetize this content, Lace. 2 of our players, by the way, in the new Christiosity series, Lace and Sib in the chat, so thank you both. I will see you later on this evening. But yeah, getting into our social science, I wanted to do that first, and then, as I said, as a consequence of lots of Dungeon Master work, prepping things for my players, I didn't have a chance to really mentally engage with the critical race theory video we looked at last time. So I thought, hey, why prepare things ahead of time when I can just do stuff on the channel? So we're going to have a little look at 3, one of my viewers, Matthew D, thank you so much, sent me 2 recommendations for possible, yeah, there you go, there's the, there's the Rolling Left thing in the chat, thank you. Well, that is going to be going live at 11 p.m., like Central European time, 10 p.m. British, I don't know, you guys still in summertime? Summertime. Subtract 5 from that to make it Eastern Standard Time. Do the rest of the math yourself, or pay me a compensation for having to do more math. Little bit workaholic. Yeah, I feel best when I'm busy, but then oh yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get focused. So, as a consequence, we're gonna look at some of these CRT things. We're gonna go back to the CRT video and low-key kind of like develop the content for that. So, but first, let's get your nerd on, and if you don't want to do the video side of it, then it's fine. It's cool. Go do something else. All right. We have been looking, just as a reminder, things we have covered so far in this book include the philosophy and social science, a philosophical toolkit, politics and political philosophy, book and its arguments. I don't know, did we do all that? I think we just skipped right into empiricism. Okay, so empiricism and positivism, and this is a very observational, grounded perspective in the social science. The emphasis there is that knowledge is produced through experience, direct experience, observations, not innate knowledge. And there is an entire body of, like an ontological, an epistemological perspective that is quite popular. It's probably the dominant form in a lot of the social science, very Quantian. Then we looked at some of the critiques and problems of empiricism and positivism, because nothing is 100% perfect, right? But it doesn't have to be. This is the thing, you can appreciate something and realize that it's flawed. If I can't just sidestep back into CRT for a quick second. Now, I find this often with People who get really defensive when people say things like critical race theory wants to question the foundations of the liberal order. Well, that sounds like sort of, I guess, maybe revolutionary and radical, but really what they're saying is it doing what it thinks it's doing? Is it actually performing the tasks that it's promised? Is it living up to its guarantees and its advertising? And if the idea is the liberal order is the solution to inequality, well, we tried liberalism in the 1960s, formal liberalism. We finally got to the place in the United States, and I'm completely Americentric, mostly because I don't want to talk about things I don't know. And when we instituted the ideal of liberal principles, it didn't solve the problem of racism. So if that's not the solution, then we have to kind of question what our assumptions are about what liberalism is. And that's a completely reasonable and actually needed and thoughtful and interesting discussion. But for people who have that kind of knee-jerk reaction and are very defensive of the racist status quo, they will turn something like question the foundations of the liberal order into almost like, as opposed to actually what it is, which is a realization of patriotism by understanding the gap between what we hope for and what we... All right. Hey, DN fan. How you doing? Good to see you. I'm really, touched that y'all show up on a Sunday. You're not late, DN. Y'all show up for my little nerdy talks. It's very, very heartwarming. After that, we looked at some alternatives to empiricism. We looked at Marxism in science. Touched a bit on Weber. We're going to come back to Weber in a big way today. Merton and the sociology of science. Historical, epistemology and structural Marxism. Revolutions and relativism. We looked at Kuhn's critique of the way that science is presented as constructing knowledge, but actually how science has got sort of built within its structures, the dismantling of prior understandings and the revolutionizing entire frameworks of understanding. The feminist vision, and now we're moving on to this reflexive term, constructing nature. So, we are now to interpretive approaches and instrumental rationality. Rational is a very loaded term. And so when someone says rational or rationality to you in the context of the social sciences, unless they've predefined it, kind of hold it open, because that phrase can mean different things or slightly different nuances of application. So make sure you don't use a one-size-fits-all when someone says rational when doing philosophy. I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone to say. All right. We talked last time about the reflexive term, and that for some, and I'm sorry, I really wish I could try to make this bigger, but I think the problem with making it bigger, okay, well, not in this case. All right, all right, okay. I see, all right, let me do something quick. I'm gonna make me mini. I won't be able to see y'all at all, but you'll still be able to see me. Which, that's what you came for, right? All right, the reflexive term is part of the wider postmodern debate. Postmodernism has questioned things that have, the grand narratives of history, things that have certain solid knowledge. It's recognized that truth is a construct, especially when it comes to human activity, rather than a fact that you... Postmodernism has also influenced the way that we think about knowledge and the theories of knowledge. So for some, the authority of scientific knowledge claims and scientific rationality were taken to be definitive of modernity. So these critiques of rationality in science and the authority really was part of the milieu, the zeitgeist. Oh, all right. Now we're going to move on to instrumental rationality. Now that we've kind of built up this whole hey, here's how we produce certain knowledge, and then go, oh, actually, maybe not so. So instrumental rationality, as we're going to be discussing it in this chapter, and the application of the social. When we want to locate it in the debate of empiricism and rationalism, if you remember way back when we talked about empiricism, we talked about these two conflicting notions of how we arrive at knowledge. Rationalists looked at mathematics and logic and said, human reason can work out truth in the universe, that don't necessarily have to refer to observation or direct experience. Empiricists basically said we can't trust, not just trust, but basically we don't have any innate knowledge that is consistent. You can't just ask, if everyone asked their God for an answer to a really difficult maths question, you can't just trust that we're all going to innately come up with the right answer. Right? You got to go out and you got to figure things. So the emphasis of empiricism was on experience, testing, observation, prediction, falsification, metrics of knowing when you have been able to reject the null hypothesis, you have to accept the null hypothesis. Rationalism really works more with the internal experiences of humanity. So, the interpretive approach starts with a different object of study. Starts with positivism is ask the question. Right. So it starts with asking the question, is positivism an adequate philosophy for the social sciences, which has different objects of studies and own specific methods? If we recall, the empirical method was imported into the social sciences because it had such great success in the natural sciences. However, when you brought that natural science approach of things that were inanimate, that didn't have consciousness, that didn't have feelings, that could not construct meaning, that behaved according to the laws of nature, like predictably, when you have those frameworks and the values that are derived from certain knowledge, right, is that worldview and its methods appropriate for the social science? We see that even today when people will refer to STEM as the hard sciences and the social sciences as soft science. Even though arguably economics, sociology, political science has far more statistical methods of testing and identifying things because what we're measuring is just more difficult. So it's not softer, it's actually in some ways more challenging because we can't make accurate predictions in the same simplistic way that those who do study like gravity would be able to do. So is it appropriate to apply a natural structure to social? Human beings are different from matter or atoms. We possess self-awareness. We create meaning. We have language. We can reflect on ourselves. All of things that things do. And these reflective modes are based on the human self-conscious reflection and the ways of interpreting meaning and the nature of rationality. So these are like objects of analysis that sociologists start to grapple with, trying to figure out how best to understand this, given that meaning isn't observable. Value isn't something that we can just take out a ruler and measure, right? These are things that we know exist intuitively because we experience them. However, quantification doesn't seem like, it seems like a square peg in a round hole, like these, doesn't really, how do we do this? Oh, what was that? All right. Oh, apparently I just had an empty slide. So we're going to talk about Weber. We're going to start with Weber, who's obviously old school. But as with everything in philosophy, you got to go back to the first person who said it in order to understand where they were coming from, so you can understand arguments came after them and are currently being debated today. Hold on, I have to do a cough. Alrighty, dighty. I'm just going to check in with all y'all in the chat here. Make sure. Workaholic. Yes, I want to make sure my audio. Hey, Michael, welcome. Chest burster. The fact that anti-SJW's words still are a real thing really bothers me. Yeah, jerks in the world. I put on a late hat and behave. Okay, well, welcome to everyone. And it seems my audio is fine. So that is all good. That was mostly what you could hear me and that I wasn't blasting your Weber. Max Weber. Very famous sociologist. Very influential. Gotta know Weber, and he's made so many contributions that it is important to kind of understand him as a grounding for the rest of development of sociology and so on. So Weber, not that he was right, he was just influential. You can agree with him or not, I don't really care, but you have to acknowledge that he made a contribution in order to properly engage. So Weber thought that the social sciences should primarily be concerned with meaning. Not concerned, he was like less concerned with language his real focus was on meaning, and that here he meant individual meaning. And even shared cultural meanings are really framed in terms of how those shared cultural meanings impact the actions of the authors. Go on to actually describe him as an ontological individual. We really think of Weber as more of an atomistic agency kind of thinker rather than putting emphasis on structures as Marx would. Marx would definitely would put a greater emphasis on structures and influences of structures on. Whereas Weber's focus was more atomistic on individuals together. And remember, you can agree with this or not, but it's a take you have to understand. He thought that that social entities like class didn't really exist except in a limited sense. And here, because it was too much to try to summarize, I write myself a note. Read the bottom of page 77. So let me go to the bottom of page. Noted. Oh, well, first I have a page wrong. It's actually 76. But I knew what I meant. All right. Weber, like all really important thinkers, overflows with the blah, 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 blah. But one thing certain about Weber is that he conceived of the social sciences as primarily concerned with meaning, and in particular with individual meaning or the ways in which shared cultural meanings affected the. We might describe Weber as an ontological individualist. The world studied by the social sciences is made up of individuals acting together. There are no collective social entities such as class, except in a limited sense that we will consider. Nor can we talk about social structures or overarching phenomenon which impose themselves on individuals. One might reasonably ask why, if there are only acting, can we make any sense of at all? At the center of Weber's answer to this is that we can make sense of social life because human beings act rationally. What he means by rationality emerges through a series of classifications in which he defines the proper object of the social more and more. This hermeneutical or interpretive tradition is often seen as the main and radical alternative to positivism, and the two are seen as mutually exclusive. Overall, we will be arguing that both have their place, and although we might argue about which philosophical methods are appropriate in any particular case, we are not faced with an either-or choice between the two. And this end point. I want to emphasize that as well. I guess there are probably social scientists who only come at things from a qual point of view, and other social scientists who are coming at things from a quant's point of view, and I'm sure there are probably a lot of social scientists who come at things from, ideology, textual things, which I guess you could count as qual if you count text as. I don't think there is a right way to look at the world. How do I put this? Okay. If I want to experience Italian cooking, I wouldn't just eat. Because there's more to Italian food than spaghetti. If I want to really get a different angle on the total topic, I need to try lasagna, I need to try, I don't know, a bunch of, blanking at a bunch of Italian dishes, tiramisu, whatever else. But I need to think about the different manifestations and the different tactics I can get to different parts of the experience. That's why, personally, I advocate for a mixed modes approach to the social science. Very much about taking all experimental research, which is quants but not, experimental research and quants research. And I think it's when you engage in all these different modes, if you're finding similar phenomenon in their respective mode, manifesting within their respective mode, repeated across different modes of analysis, this gives you a really clear, gives you good substantive information that there's something happening. Can I give you just a brief real world example? Right, so one of the thing that I looked at for my doctoral thesis was to look at masculinity and femininity. Now those words carry a lot of weight and have a lot of meanings, but how do we bring this down to individuals? So the way that one of the initial metrics, the questionnaire, role inventory, but we're not. What they did was they went to men and women, undergraduate, white, undergraduate, middle class, Americans, as they always do. But they asked, what are the characteristics of the ideal man and woman? It was in the 1970s. And what they found was a series of characteristics that came from actual people talking about what the ideal feminine type is, or ideal masculine type. So that's a qual thing, and you're able to then sort of like, take that data and find some core concepts. What do you do with then? Well, you need to test. So you take it over and you turn it into a questionnaire, and you then take the core and you spread it out to a whole bunch of other people and see whether or not this one data sample is pretty much mapping onto other people's perspectives as well. And when you do that, when you kind of test those questions out, you can then apply to a survey, and then you're using quants data. That's like more of a instrument construction path. However, if we wanted to look at Weber and some of his concepts, for instance, we could run a series of questions in a survey that are meant to measure Weberian concepts. We can do an experiment where we give people different stimuli, see if they identify different, or we can interview them. 4 different. So there are multiple ways we should be able to get at a phenomenon if it is really manifesting in the society. All right. So the first thing in the morning I start talking, and then my voice just gets speak. So pardon me. All right, back again. Weber was interested in actions, but he wasn't just interested in any kind of like random actions. He wanted to categorize. So he started like categorizing the world, very quantitative. Start creating little blocks of information. He said first that, when you think about what is considered action and meaningful action in a variant sense, think of it less as stark lines of this action is meaningful and this action isn't, to think of it more like a continuum that is talking about how meaningful an action. The example they give in the book is if I'm just blinking as I go through my day, that is probably not. If I'm being interrogated by the police and they ask me a question and I start blinking rapidly because my brain is like buffering and I like right now, this blinking now has subjective meaning that we can apply given the context. And so you can't just look at an action in isolation, like blinking your eye. Is it being indicative of a? So for him, and for Weber, then even meaningful action isn't necessarily sufficient. It might be a necessary condition, but it is not sufficient to be a meaningful social action. And that was what he was really. So there are behaviors, there are meaningful actions, and then there are meaningful social actions, 4 categories at meaningful social actions, and those are actions directed at a human. So for Weber's 4 types of meaningful social actions, you can divide them into kind of like personal satisfaction and then interactions with. The first one he identified is he labeled as tradition, and these are actions that we do because we've always. And it might be some ritual, it might be some family event, it might be a personal thing, but we're doing it because we find we've always done it that way, and there's something of value we find. And then the next category of meaningful social that he identified, affectual, or actions, emotions. The idea here is that when you value something, the value might not be independent, it might not be objective, but it is. You can't necessarily rationally justify it. However, you emotionally attach to it, find value in it, or you attribute value. And because you've attributed or you find that value, then your actions to pursue it are rational. Next up, valuing. This is a class of, I spelled that wrong? Oh, well, I can't, it's too late now. Valuing is a class of actions which are oriented to ultimate values, not rationally justified. Then, oh yes. How is that different from, okay, I think I'm mixing up valuing and effectual. Let me just super double check. Second, meaningful action, effectual action. That is action based on emotion. Such action is on the borderline of the rational. If I am overwhelmed by my feelings, then it is less rational or not rational. But if I guide my feelings into actions geared towards something to the rational. If I lose my temper and hit a friend, I am not acting rationally. If I am angry with my friend, avoid him for a while or decide why I am angry. Okay, so clarified. Now let's take this valuing as its own circular self-justification. The third type of action is on the borderline of properly rational. It's a feature of human beings that we value creatures, and there's a class of actions which are oriented to ultimate values. Values which we have chosen but cannot justify in any way. Once we have chosen a value, however, to make rational sense of actions, we take pursuit of it. So this is the first. And finally, practical. There is an action oriented towards achieving something in this world, practical. The sort we take every day that is directed toward ends. We calculate possible outcomes and make judgments. In contemporary society, it is sometimes difficult to conceive of any other sort of action. Cultural emphasis on achievement, success, profit, practicality, and action leaves us feeling that an action which doesn't have an identifiable or even a measurable form is a form. One example of these kinds of ways of re-understanding or how something can have two meanings within Weber's framework of what drives action, meaningful social action. We talked before about the blinking, right? Blinking can be meaningless or it can have meaning. Here we're looking at the fact that it's a little bit fuzzy because different motivations can take the same object, the same social object, and explain it in different ways. The example they give in the book is education. It can be that you value education because it improves life experiences and you have the pleasure of learning and you're doing education for the sake of education. Yes, that would fall under emotional, sexual actions based on emotion. However, it can also be practical because they're like, I want to get more education so I can do a job that is more in demand, requires higher skills, and then I can get more money for it. And so two types of motivations. That is as far as we're going to get with Weber today, because it's a lot to try to distill. Even though it's only, we've been talking, for 20 minutes, and I've gone through, page 75, 6, 7, and 8? That's a lot of content in 4 pages. That's why we're snail pacing. All right, time to look at the chat. Hey, chat, what you going on? What is going on? Hi. Jervan, welcome. Hey, Po Mama Sid, good to see you. Well, thank y'all for stopping by. Check my mic. Ah, okay. Oh, do you hear background noise? All right. See, I'm always. All right. How is my audio now? I'm just to reduce the noise filter. I do hear a little fan making freaking annoying noises. So hopefully that's not indicative of bigger problems I have. Hey, can y'all give me a sound check in the chat now? That I am getting all kinds of anxious about the video and the audio quality. You think that you can trust these things, but then at the end of the day, you can't. Alrighty dighty, how is that? No background noise. File not found. I don't know what's going on. Alright, so hopefully now y'all can hear me. I've turned down the threshold, the noise gate, and everything else looks okay. Looks okay on my side. Better. Okay. Apologies for the technical problems. I don't know what to do about that. It's when you're running your own show, you know, you don't have time to, like, if I have the screen, this is why I hate doing full screen, because I can't then see the chat, but the PowerPoint won't let me have more things up. Just the syllable drops. Okay. Yeah, I've dropped the noise filter that I have because I do have background noise quite often. Oh. All right. Okay, just a bit of a dropout. That's all right. I'm still very obsessed about my audio quality. So even the smallest dropouts, I want you guys to tell me about. All right. Oh, God. You know, can we do... Cool. I'm glad that it's better after the change. Thank you for the feedback. I'm gonna be honest. I'm tired, y'all. You want to do like an AMA instead? I think because I'm putting so much mental output. This morning I got up and I read the chapter and I did the notes and then I prepared the PowerPoint and set up the show, and now I'm like, oh God, I'm so tired. So if you all are okay with it, and I like you're gonna say no. Let's just do, can we just do like an AMA for the rest of the show? I will change the title and we'll look at CRT next week. We'll work on the CRT video. I haven't done, okay, we can watch some clips. You're tired as well, Po Mama. Yeah. And can I just whine for a bit? So yeah, I'm just gonna whine for a bit. The weather's not been great. There was no real summer. And because like I feel cold in the winter, like I just, you know, like I naturally have always been cold-blooded. You know, my feet are cold, my hands are cold. In the summer, I really like it to get, you know, properly hot and to sweat. And I don't get that. I feel like I haven't charged up my internal solar batteries to get through another winter. And that's exactly how I'm feeling these days. Leftist audio seeks us out wherever we go. Yeah, I think it probably might have also changed because of that extension I turned off because of I was having a problem with row 20. So let's just do a little YouTube. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sorry, I don't mean to whine. I do this show voluntarily, so I really shouldn't complain. But there are just times that it's easier than others. I guess it's probably the same for like people who like to run or whatever else. Some days it feels effortless doing your exercises, and I know I'm gonna have a spa day. I've got one more week of work. Yeah, this other thing is I'm technically going on holiday from Friday at 5 o'clock, but I'm still gonna do my shows. So am I on holiday? I don't know. Okay. Yes, I'm still on holiday is the answer to the question. You've had brutally hot summer. Probably, honestly, it's better to have a mild summer than it is to have the really hot one. It's easier on the animals. It's easier on nature. Aw, thanks for the hugs. Yeah, I just need to go and sit in a sauna for a day and a half. I'll be fine. I'll be dead is what I will be. All right, so a shout out again. Matthew, who watches this show later, because I think it's on at a god-awful hour in the morning in the States, sent me recommendations on possible. So let's have a look at them. Aw. Thank you for giving me permission to whine. I don't give myself permission to do that in public very often. So thank you. All right, let me have a look at I'll pull up the timestamps. So if you remember, and I guess I'm getting a second wind here. I'll pull up my doodly. We'll have a look at the CRT video. It's basically done no more development since the last time we talked. Ain't nothing else happened with that. I made 2 other videos. I made a promo video for the D&D thing. Hey, Roy Cats. I'm social construct of a cat as well as being a cat. Alright, social justice, critical theory. That's the one we're looking for. Just to remind you, in case you weren't here last week, or you forgot because you got better things to think about in your life. The idea here is to make little one-off videos challenging the white supremacist talking points put out by Peter Boghossian, James Dilley, and James Lindsay. And we looked last time at basically the intro is going to be staying the same. You all voted for the same music in the videos, which makes my life easier, so good. And then a little bit of the intro to their handout for policymakers. And then the idea of the structure of each of the videos is to introduce the idea of responding to social justice, what was it, talking points, or whatever the rhetoric, and then presenting an honest but digestible definition, or a couple definitions actually. This isn't the right definition, by the way. This is I should probably put text goes here, because this is text goes here. These are not the proper ones. The source, I don't know the source, and I should probably do this here. Text goes here. So I know I need to fill these up. Text goes here. And I want to present like a couple different people talking about a very complicated theoretical concept. If we're honest, you could do an entire hour just on the basic concepts that underpin critical race theory. So I need things that are succinct and really capture the essence of it. I can do that later. And then once establishing with credible sources the true, complex, and interesting meaning of critical race theory, I want to then contrast that against, in all honesty, the knuckle dragging, and oh yes, there's a synthesis there of like what the main points are that should go together. And then having established all that, go back and then look at their actual definition and expose it as completely insufficient. So again, I'm getting a question. Why? Yes, so why the hoodie? Is it cold? It is currently 15 degrees. It is currently, so that is Celsius. So let me just show you my quick and easy trick to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Take 15 degrees Celsius, or whatever it is, X degrees Celsius, multiply it by 2, that gives us 30. And then in order to get it over to Fahrenheit approximation, you add a further 30 degrees. So it's about 60 degrees at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're getting to the height of the day. You can't see, but it is gray and rainy out. And yeah, it is cold. I actually thought yesterday, for the first time, I'd seriously considered turning the furnace back on. It's so depressing. And yeah, I got my Hamilton. I've got my white liberal wine mom fangirl Hamilton sweat hoodie. Proper freaking hoodie. There we go. So yeah, it's cold. It's miserable. I'm actually wearing my autumn and winter pajama bottoms right now because it's so cold. Boo! Right, so that was the framework, that was the background about what the idea of the critical race theory video was, and in terms of its structure and my goals. So oh, and you didn't see any of that. You saw none of that. I'm sorry. Too many. Where's the missing apostrophe? Is that in my text? I'll have to double check. So, sorry, just to run you through it quick again, there's the intro slide. There is the framing, which is, hey, here's what's going on. These people made a cheat sheet, and we're going to have a look at what experts say and then compare it to this thing. And then I go through and I get 2, maybe 3, ideally, experts giving succinct definitions of the concepts. Oh, I can make my window, I can big up my window now. I had to make myself a mini me. Now I can make myself a bigger me. Ah, so big. Do that a couple times in ways that really summarize it. Then from those 2 or 3 definitions, pull out the common themes and really ram those home. Really make, okay, these are the things that are associated with critical race theory, or whatever the theory is. And then compare it to their crap and call them out on their, let's see. Call them out on their lack of scholarship, their lies, their lack of references, their oversimplification of a very nuanced and interesting concept, und so weiter. Yeah, und so weiter, and so on. Oh, das fängt ein Deutschkurs an. We're starting a German class here on a Sunday. All right, now what I need to do is I need to protect the anonymity of my sources while also pulling up my sources live. So I'm going to take this to the other window where you can't see. None of y'all can see. And look at Matthew's. Yes, so he says, okay, that was about In your video, you asked about a video with a succinct description of critical race theory. Have you listened to Dr. Rashid Ritchie? Listen to this at about the 2-minute mark. All right, let's do this. So thank you, Matthew. And before we hit pause. Y'all are gonna look at, because I've been just too busy with D&D to look at any of this. So we're gonna watch this for the first time together. Also means I need to turn on the desktop audio and I need to get my headphones on. But it will ruin my hair. As a teacher, I would let my students use that cheat sheet just so I could show them why cheating is bad and why they should study instead. Yeah. Oh, you missed an apostrophe. All right, thank you. Thank you for reducing my anxiety. I'm like, oh no, grammatical error. All right, so we're going to go to about the 2-minute mark. Right-wing lies about critical race theory exposed. Love it, by the way. I'm loving this. I think this should not blow you out audio-wise, so let's do a little test.
There is no school teacher who has ever taught this in K through 12 education. As a matter of fact, when you went to high school, did you learn critical race theory? Of course not. This is a fabricated pretext in order to create a context to stop critical thinking, not critical theory. That's what this is all about.
That's true.
The bills that have been proposed and the bills that have been passed do not contain the verbiage critical race theory. Isn't that something? They don't have the verbiage that says CRT. They do say race, racism, racial, and even sexism. Those words are inside of these bills. The fabricated pretext is critical race theory to create the context to serve an agenda that says, let's stop thinking critically about what white racist lawmakers did in this country. That's what this is about. Let me give you another example of how Republicans have played this game before. Remember the weapons of mass destruction? Remember that? Once again, a fabricated pretext in order to create a context to serve their agenda. Most recent, massive voter fraud. Another fabricated pretext to create a context.
I like this, although I need more 101. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and see if there's some like real basic ground level 101 stuff going on here.
Talk about critical race theory. Across this entire country, you've had states like Texas, Idaho, and others pass laws banning the teaching of critical race theory. You have a band of Karens who have launched assaults against school boards, saying
what do you call a roving band of Karens? Tell me in the chat. All right, that was funny.
And don't teach our children critical race theory. Here's the reality of it, ladies and gentlemen. K through 12 education does not teach critical race theory. As a matter of fact, colleges, undergrad, they don't even teach critical race theory. It's considered to be an advanced theoretical framework. Graduate level classes typically will teach critical race theory if you're taking particular courses. Now, why are they saying they are banning critical race theory? Don't fall for the okie dokie. See, I'm from Glenwood Road. I peep game. They're simply running game on Republicans, moderates, independents, and trying to run game on those on the left. But it doesn't work here. We are immune to game. CRT, critical race theory, has been around since the 70s. It's not a new concept. It is a derivative of the legal scholarship concept, which examined racism as it correlates to systems, institutions, policies.
Okay,
not just people.
This is what I'm looking for. This is the good stuff. Starting about 1 minute in. This is mwah. This is mwah, because I can take this. I can quote him. I can make an attribution. I think it's not the intro. I still think Tim Wise does a better succinction, although Matthew's given me a second one. But this is good. A quest for the manager of Karens, a school board committee of Karens. Love it. An HOA of Karens. Oh, y'all are cracking me up.
In other words, if you eliminated or decreased the number of individual racist people in America, you would still have to contend with the fact that you have racist policies, and racist norms connected to institutions.
Oh, I'm loving this. Loving this. Yes. This is exactly the kind of stuff that needs to kind of go in the video. So thank you, Matthew. This is good stuff.
Let me give you another example. The U.S. Constitution called me 3/5 of a person. That's called an institutional racist norm. The Declaration of Independence, another founding document of our nation, called Native Americans savages. That's an institutional racist norm. Those institutions continue to permeate today. Critical race theory, ladies and gentlemen, not taught in K through 12 education.
Okay,
there is no school teacher who has.
That's where we're coming. Yeah, I really like that first section, especially. I think there's good quotes in here that I can take out. What do y'all think? That little bit there, from starting about 1 minute in. Where are my transcripts? Show me my transcripts. Open the transcripts. Yes. If you eliminated or decreased the number of individual racist people in America, you would still have to contend with the fact that you have racist policies and racist norms connected to institutions. I think that's where pulling that out would be really helpful, and then helping people, like linking it to something like redlining, or linking it to something like the way that Black Americans, disproportionately Black American men, because they were in World War II, were ineligible or did not uptake or were not able to fully enjoy the benefits of the GI Bill, and how that has affected family wealth and the lack of inherited wealth to be passed on from the 1940s. And why were those soldiers not able to go to college as often or to get houses? It's because the institutions at the time were racist and denied them access to those neighborhoods or to those schools, and that has an effect generationally. So yeah, that was really good. Okay, so then you make a mental note. There's stuff I can pull out of here, and then the next one up, I have to go to. How many tabs? I have too many tabs open. Okay. Too many windows. Not enough screens. 610 might be a better snippet. Thank you. Opening a new tab. Oh, it's the same guy. Oh, I'm loving this guy.
Oh, let me bring you back to the planet, brother. Bring you back. Critical.
I'm sorry. My heart's already fluttering. My heart's already fluttering at this. So we're supposed to jump ahead to minute 6. Hey y'all, Rumor with Legs, welcome. We're getting to the end of the show. We got our nerd on with our Weber earlier, and now we are having a look. Oh, it's already queued up for me. Nice. We're having a look at clips that succinctly summarize or passionately describe CRT in order to triangulate an appropriate definition in the video that I'm making about CRT, establishing a firm conceptual foundation to then contrast against the absolute racist garbage of Lindsay, Bogosian, and Dilley. All right, so let's go with this description. I'm excited now.
Race theory is an advanced theoretical framework that teaches the complexities of institutional racism and how they interrelate to societal norms, policies, and institutions.
Good stuff.
It is not even taught at the undergraduate level of college. It is taught at graduate level studies, master's and doctoral programs. Critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 education.
Drop all this.
School teachers are not trained to teach critical race theory, and no child has ever come home with a homework assignment that said critical race theory. And out of the 35 states that have proposed critical race theory legislation to ban it, the word or the verbiage critical race theory, or CRT, isn't even in the bill. No bill that bans critical race theory actually has the wording critical race theory in the bill. What they're doing, Bobby, and you're a smart guy, and I want you to catch this. They are using a fabricated pretext of critical race theory to develop a context to stop teachers from teaching race relations in the United States of America.
This is interesting. So maybe instead, what I'll do is, I will get up. I guess it's get up Tim Wise, right? He lays the basic foundation, Or get up Dr. Ritchie and have his clip, and then have the Wise clip, and then have this as a sort of a preliminary, almost anticipating the objections, framing the opposition. And this is, this one, yes, it is indisputable with Dr. Rashid Ritchie. This is a recommendation from a viewer as to sources, succinct sources on CRT. So Dr. Rashid, summarize, Wise, expand, and then Ritchie, or Dr. Ritchie, basically bookend it with Dr. Ritchie, and then him coming in here, basically setting up the misportrayal of CRT, having seen two people describe it in a similar way. So if you want to know how videos are made, like the logic behind them, this is what we're doing live. So.
Or the cause and effect reality of institutional racism in the United States of America, such as Jim Crowism, such as the fact that the U.S. Constitution calls me 3/5 of a man. The Declaration of Independence names Native Americans savages. Those are institutional racist norms that this legislation seeks to stop teachers from teaching. Critical race theory never has been taught in K through 12 education. You're smarter than that, Bobby.
No.
Yeah, and there's so much of a game going on here, because you can teach teachers critical race theory in order for them to understand it as a framework for understanding history or American society or cultural values, right? You can't really understand Birth of a Nation, right? Like, why would, why is this picked up as the topic, Birth of a Nation, in this early 1900s, about the time where a lot of these Civil War people are dying off, the rise of the KKK? You can't really explain that without understanding the rest of the context around America. So putting together racism with institutional practices, which is all CRT really does, it illuminates the relationship between racism that is built into policies and structural norms and institutional practices that just get reproduced because they've been done. Look at, we talked about Weber, right? And tradition. Meaningful social action can just be, this is the way we've always done it, and finding value in that and motivating that and fearing change, right? So yeah, good stuff. Very, very good stuff. If you have any more recommendations, come throw it at me. Let's be like, I'll credit Matthew at the end of the video for the contributions. But yeah, I think what I can do from here is, so my idea is to, I think mostly on these I've done fades. Hold on, I think I've faded rather than drawn quite a lot of these. I know that one was drawn. Yeah, tell you what, we'll just preview this yada yada. Oh, interesting, there's a gap there. Random music. I think that's just an empty that's not the one I was looking for. Or is it just super slow? Why are you... Yeah. Okay, it just was super slow. Oh, it's starting from the beginning. Alright, I did have it drawn. So, yeah, I'm thinking about maybe taking like a picture. Stop! Alright, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking about the aesthetics as being... So, like, for here, I was just put the quotes in, but I've got this image here. So, what I'm thinking about doing here is to take a picture of the person who's on screen and maybe use some effects and turn it into a drawing, or just leave it as it is, and then have that drawing either fade in or be drawn, and then have their words come up as a quote. I don't want to embed the video. I'm worried about like copyright claims, so I think that would work. I think putting the picture of the person, and then also as their quote is being read out, I'll take the audio and have it, or maybe I'll read it out. So yeah, I think it's taking pretty good shape so far. It'll be short, be succinct, and the idea is to directly address and undermine the credibility of those piece of garbage academics who didn't do a good job. So this idea that, you know, the belief that people of European descent make society racist for their own benefit, hopefully by this point in the video I will have set up explanations that are reasonable and accurate, such that the viewer, even if they've not seen it before, will be able to see that although, yes, there is some discussion in terms of structural racism, none of the people here said, well, what is European descent? You mean white? Why don't you just say white? But anyway. Yep. All right. Well, I guess I know what my homework is for next week. And it's getting on 5 to the hour. I am going to be checking out here. If you guys have any things left in the chat, you can go ahead and throw them over comments now. This will be I'll switch over the window. Big old window. And otherwise, yeah, I'll be back. So next Sunday will be my first Sunday on holiday. Oh, I don't need this anymore. I'm just listening to nothing. And I might end up taking a Sunday or 2 off. It depends on whether or not, maybe weather dependent. Like if it's rainy out, I probably will have very little motivation to leave my house on a Sunday. If I want to, head out, I might. So just be aware that in the next 2 weeks, my routine might be broken up. But until I tell you otherwise, I will be here next Sunday. I don't see any chats, so that's fine. I think it just means you guys are all happy and satisfied, and you don't have that much in terms of needs. You're just happy the way you are. All right then. If you want to watch me play some D&D, you can always head over to my channel, D&D with Kristi. I'm going to be kicking off in 5 hours with a battle between some were-rats and my party. And of course, we will be heading over to the Twitch channel for the start at 11 p.m. this evening with Chrisiosity's new campaign, Cirque de Sang Sauvage. So, spa day, yeah, need a spa day. I love to see you take on racist deplorables. yeah, that is my entertainment now. Don't worry, Po Mama, you can just drift off. Schlaf schön, mein Lieber. Yeah, I am definitely going to do, I'm hoping on the holiday now that I'm all vaccinated, I can do 2 things. One is to go spend an entire day over at Claudia's Therma, which is a brilliant spa here about 3 train stops and a bus away from my house. On the other side, it's in Deutz, it's on the cross-eyed side of the river, so it's not nearby, but it's close enough. And I'd really like to get to Wuppertal. I would like to finally get to Wuppertal now that I am properly vaccinated and go take a video of that monorail, because it looks freaking awesome. All right. Y'all, be well, be safe, be healthy, take care of each other, and have a great day or afternoon or evening, whenever it is, wherever it is you are. I have been Kristi. You are always awesome. And she says as she desperately looks for the right tab to end the stream because she's got 15 different tabs open right now and can't find her own stream. Oh, no, that's not it either. Where's my stream? Where's my stream? I can't find a stream. I think I can just hit stop streaming. That will also work. I've ruined my exit. All right. I've been Kristi. You've been awesome. I'll catch you later. Bye.